Welcome back, guys, to the Built for More podcast. I believe we are on episode 6. So, as always, thank you all so much for those of you who have listened so far and for those who sent in the questions last week. We appreciate it. As always, drop us a comment, drop us a message for any topics you want to discuss on here in future. So, today we're talking about the one thing that everybody says they want, but almost nobody is willing to actually build, and that is discipline. So most people look at high achievers and think, they're just born with it, just comes naturally for them. They think that it's a personality trait. But if you look at our backgrounds, mine and Jordan's, we're going to delve into them a little bit more today. You will see that we have two completely different worlds, but they have taught us quite a similar lesson. On one hand, Jordan's going to delve into his football background a little bit. Jules in the way. Oh, I can't even speak.
That's a great start.
I know. It's because it begins with an R, and I can't say my R's.
Bloody hell, you're exposing yourself like that.
I know. Okay, guys. Before we progress any further. Oh, Jordan's pulling a face because he's so embarrassed by me. But I actually have like a speech impediment, and I'm sure you've probably all heard it at some point. And I'm like Jonathan Ross, and I can't say my R's and my W's. So I'm just gonna get
One,
that out there now, and then we
one
can just
rabbit, one wabbit.
exactly. Do you know how many times Jordan's like, "Oh, say one rabbit. Go on, say it," because he finds it hysterical. But yeah, I'm just gonna put that out there now, and then we can squash that and move on. And if you hear me mispronounce a few things, which I'm sure you probably have already at some point, just ignore it. As I was saying, so you have Jordan who has been on the football pitch growing up, quite a team spirited sport. He's had the pressure of never letting a team down, having a kind of drill sergeant coach, that kind of approach to things. And then on the other hand, you've got me in the ballet studio. It's a very different dynamic, grueling perfectionism, and all of that. But we'll delve into that a little bit more later in the podcast. So, this leads me to the question then, like, where does drive actually come from? Is it something that our parents have taught us? Is it a byproduct of the sports we've played, of our environment? Or is it a skill that you can actually learn and develop? At the age of 30, 40, 50 years old, can you find that drive and that discipline from somewhere? Okay, so we're discussing why low motivation is usually just a cover up for like low self-belief, why your environment is either your best friend or potentially your worst enemy, and how we as coaches take our clients who have spent probably a lifetime of flaking on themselves and actually turn them into people who do carry out what they say they're going to, okay? So enough said on that. Let's diving straight in with Jordan.
Ooh.
So your football background, I'll kick you off with a question so you can dive
Oh.
into it and start. What did playing football on the pitch teach you that transpires into your drive and attitude today?
That I'm fucking sick.
Great. End of the podcast. Bye, guys.
What did it teach me that transpires? See, I'm going to come in from a different angle because I say this to conversations with clients because this is a good topic because there's so many angles from it, obviously. But when I do have conversations with clients, I almost wish my bodybuilding and football was the opposite way around. Obviously, I'm not going to do bodybuilding at the age of fucking 7, right? But I wish I did because bodybuilding's added to my life a lot more than football did. So bodybuilding's probably given me more discipline.
Okay.
So I almost wish if that was flipped around, I almost look at it in the sense of like I probably would have been a better footballer if I had. Yeah, you can probably come a lot of it from the maturity aspect. You know what I mean? I think if I was doing bodybuilding younger, I probably wouldn't be doing it the same. And same with football. I think because I was younger, the maturity of now going into bodybuilding is, I was going to say, more easier in some ways. So yeah, for me, I mean, from football, what did it give me? I guess, yeah, it obviously did give me some discipline. Yeah, but bodybuilding's giving more of it, so it's a bit of a tricky one to answer in terms of.
I I think from what you just said just made me think that I suppose when you were young and probably playing football and like it's a lot of you want to like your your initial answer to this was like yeah I'm sick, but I feel like when you're young that is kind of the attitude you have, like you want to be a good player on that pitch, you want to be the one scoring the goals, you want to, so like I suppose, is it discipline that makes you show up on the pitch and do all them things when you're younger, or is it more that the excitement of being there, wanting to be the best, wanting to be the one that's scoring the goals, wanting to show off a little bit? Like, does it come more from, because like we've said in the past, talking about your bodybuilding journey, yes, it would be nice to get a trophy and stuff like that, but you're not actually doing it for that. You're doing it because you love the process. Whereas I suppose when you're younger, or maybe with football, was it that you actually loved the process and loved the training as much as the glorification of like playing on the pitch, having a laugh with your mates and showing off in front of your mates? Like, what was it?
Yeah, because football, not to blow my own trumpet here, I did win a lot of trophies and a lot of medals compared to what I ever will in bodybuilding, but I probably didn't have the same discipline as I do in bodybuilding. So I think it almost taught me in the sense of, like I say, you football enjoyed it more, but I think a big factor of it is going, shit, you're not always going to win trophies. You're not always going to be the best, even though you're striving to be the best. And you have to flip that into, we talk about all the time, your why. Because bodybuilding, like I say, you're not going to be the best at it. There's thousands of people that are going to be better. Same with football. So, yeah, like I say, it's hard to answer because, like I say, I think I just enjoyed football more.
Were you, I suppose going off the back of that then, were you disciplined as a child at all? Like, were
Yeah, I
you
got
disciplined?
spanked.
Yeah, but I'm just curious, like going
If
back
my
to
mum and
the
dad listen to this, they didn't abuse me, okay?
question. But they also, you said earlier, your parents also aren't that disciplined. So it's not them that, like as a
No,
child,
no, that's wrong because if they do listen to that, they'll think I'm fucking awful to them. They are disciplined because they work very fucking hard. We know that from where anyone knows me in the background, right? Yeah, they've done very well for themselves, especially at the age that they're at now. So yeah, the discipline is there because otherwise they won't keep going. They would just stopped. And
yeah, well, that's another question we have near the end of this podcast, actually.
so yeah, they're not disciplined, which again we can spin off like we are into because I don't look at that as discipline. I look at it more of a purpose, goal of what they don't do other than because at the end of the day, as a parent, you've got to be disciplined, I guess, naturally to provide for your family, provide for your children, put a house, roof over your head, and so forth, and
Okay.
things like that.
So going back to my original question then, because you just said you got more disciplined through bodybuilding, which has been like what in your adult life. As a child, were you disciplined? Did you grow up in a disciplined environment or not really?
Oh, how far back do we go? Um, yeah, if we're talking within the actual family side of things, my parents have never been disciplined people. They've always said, go do what you enjoy, do what you feels best for you. So I've never had, no, you must do this, you must do that, and that's where it's come from. Outside of that, if people know me, and people probably heard this story 1,000 times from many people, it's cliche. Yeah, I grew up on a council estate, I grew up in rough areas, I don't come from a nice background, I don't come from money. I think that's ultimately where the discipline drive comes from.
Yeah.
So I think you have to stem back further than the football to to see where that comes from in terms of the discipline side of things. Because I didn't, not that we didn't have a roof, we had food on the table, and that's fantastic from the parent side of things, but I didn't have everything necessarily given to me like people do. So I think for me, naturally, that is an automatic discipline to go, yeah, I don't want to be here. Hence why, if you've ever been to Grimsby, in not so nice areas, that was ultimately naturally probably my drive deeper inside that I knew to get me out of there and be successful, go run my own business, get away from okay, I'm only in fucking shitty hole. It's not really any better, to be fair. Some people are going to love this and argue against this, but it's not.
You're gonna piss off a lot of people on this podcast. Most of our listeners probably live in Hull.
Good. It's a shithole. We don't even want to live here half the time.
It's not actually as bad as I thought, and I'm from Beverley. I don't mind it.
Yeah, we've got a posh totty here.
But
We have two very different backgrounds.
yeah, well, I'm gonna take the reins now and talk a little bit about me and myself and my background because you never ask the questions back, but we know this.
I didn't know
So,
I'd finished.
well, I mean, do you want to give us a full
But no, the reason I
backstory?
told that story was simply because I find it quite funny. How many people think they don't think I've grown up rough? They don't think I'm, you know, come from a rough area, and some people think I'm from fucking down south. Down fucking
Yeah, I don't
south.
get that. I don't get that, to be
Yeah, they
honest.
don't think that as soon as they get shocked when I say Grimsby, like, oh, you grew up in that shit. I'm like, and I wouldn't change it for the world because I wouldn't be the person I am today.
You say tea for like your evening meal, so how the hell can they think you're from down south?
That was I wonder what he was on about then. Yeah. All right. Are we asking that question? What is it, people? Breakfast, dinner, tea, or breakfast, lunch, dinner?
Breakfast, lunch, dinner. I'm drinking a tea right now,
Yeah.
thanks.
Do you know why? Because you're from Beverley.
Beverly are the same as you. It's because I got absolutely rinsed at uni when I lived in London, so I was a traitor. I swapped sides.
Saying that though, weirdly, since we've been together, I do say lunch a lot more.
Hmm. I'm having some sort of positive impact.
But I still say tea. Tea is tea. But then again, I think for us, we don't really say it that much because it's what's your next meal?
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so your background and my background, as you've just said, were quite different.
Hmm.
Um, we have something in common as in like we both did like can you class dance as a sport? Maybe you can't class ballet as a sport. It should be, but
Is
people don't.
bodybuilding a sport?
That's a topic for another day. Let's
Won't
just
disagree.
so yeah, I went to ballet school. Well, I did ballet from the age of 4. And then I actually went to ballet school, trained with Northern Ballet and professional CAP program from the age of 11 in Leeds, and then went on to do my professional 3-year training after that in London. So, yeah, I've had a very, I think, up until 11, it was just a bit of a hobby, like it is for anybody. And then from the age of 11, I did have to obviously do my school full time in Beverley, go through to Leeds 4 or 5 days a week. Like my parents had to give up a lot to be able to do that. And I used to train 32 hours a week on top of school. So I had a very, for my whole of secondary school. And then in my final year, which was like GCSE year, we went up to 40 hours training a week. So I had 40 hours training a week, full time school, and the commute to and from Leeds. It was awful. I was up at 5 a.m. every morning, catching up on schoolwork to then go to school for 8. And I never used to get back till half 10, 11 p.m. on a night from Leeds. And then I used to have to eat and get showered and go to bed, and my feet would be bleeding. And it was just not the best time. And I loved it. I wouldn't do it any different, but it was very fucking hard, and I can't deny that. And I think I'm kind of the opposite to Jordan in the sense that I probably had the most discipline then than I've ever had in my life. Because I had to take that on at such a young age, and I had a lot of pressure because it was costing my parents a lot of money, and it was also a lot. It was time consuming for them. They had to give up their lives basically to run around after me. But it was a family decision when I got accepted into the school, and that was that. But yeah, for me, I'd say most of my discipline now will come from that rather than anything else. Because believe it or not, my parents aren't the most disciplined, and I don't mean that to be an asshole towards them, just like Jordan. But when I did used to have to get up early, this is when I say I don't know. Environment dictates to an extent because Jordan doesn't believe that I could ever be disciplined. He thinks he leads me. And you do. You said you think you lead me in terms of that. And if you weren't here, I wouldn't be as disciplined as I am. But when I was 11, you were not here.
I mean, I wouldn't word it like that. People are going to think I'm controlling.
No, you just think that because in the time that you've known me,
Yeah.
up until this last year, that is probably the most disciplined you see me. And I will openly admit that since leaving dance school and probably till these past couple of years, I lost myself a lot. And I
There
did
is
lose,
another reason in between there, obviously.
yeah, but I did lose my drive and my discipline, and because I question when you've spent the majority of your adolescent life really striving towards a very fixed goal. This is another reason Jordan doesn't like, I don't like setting goals anymore. When you've literally given up such a big part of your life to do that and it doesn't pan out, it feels like you've had something massive just taken away from you and it's completely out of your control. And I didn't like that feeling and I felt very lost.
Okay.
But yeah, go on then.
If that was the case, right, because we get clients and so many coaches watching this and they have clients, you just said, like, say, you had discipline and you didn't supposedly get to where you wanted to be. So why now is that discipline starting to come back?
Because I think I've found something that I'm quite passionate about again. And I think my self confidence and self belief took a massive knock in that whole situation as well. And then I've been through other stuff since that has impacted that. I think it's the first time in a long time that I have felt capable and able to actually achieve something that I want to do again and something that I am quite passionate about. And I think that's why it's starting to come back because I've found that thing again. I found that why. I found that purpose, as you like to say. Whereas I went, sorry, go on.
Yeah, but what brought that back?
You're waiting for me to say environment here, aren't you? You're
No,
waiting for me to say you, meeting
no,
you.
fuck off. Only asking because the listeners and the watchers,
I don't
watchers.
know. I couldn't pinpoint one specific thing. I think it has been a. This sounds so cheesy, and I don't want to say it because it's going to sound so cheesy. It has been a bit of a self discovery path and journey to realign because I went through such a like I say, I was so lost. I completely lost myself. I didn't recognize the person I was for a period of time. And I think I've had to slowly find that person again and align and really try to identify my true values and who I am and what I want out of life and things like that. And that's helped me kind of discover this purpose, this passion.
Okay.
But it's not, I can't just answer that in one like sentence
No,
because
no,
it's
I'm just going to go off
one
back of it because I'm thinking clients will be listening to this and things like that, right? So, yeah, you found refound your purpose, drive, etc., etc. And yeah, we can look at that as environment around certain people in certain places, the relationship that we're in, and so forth. Do you think you would have found it without that environment?
potentially not, no. And this is what I was getting at. I was about to get off before we went on to a bit of a tangent when I say my parents aren't the most disciplined. Disclaimer, I love my parents to pieces and I wouldn't change them for the world. But even like growing up, like I said, when I was at dance school, I was the youngest obviously in the household, I was probably about 12 or 13. I would have to get up, I would be first up every morning, even at that age. My parents wouldn't be up. My dad would have to get up at 7:15 because he'd be leaving for work at 8:15. And I would have to go wake my dad up with a coffee. I would then have to make my mum's coffee half an hour later and go wake her up with a coffee and take one to my brother and get him up for school. And he's my older brother. I'd have already been up like 2 hours doing my revision, letting the cats out, giving the cats the breakfast. And I was the only person in our household that would actually get up in the morning and that would do all these things and be prepared. Like my mum would still be in bed when I used to set off to school, like because she worked, but she didn't work till lunchtime, and like they've never been very. How can I put it? My dad works really really hard. We know that, and he does. He has his whole life, and he's not come from a lot. But in terms of like having something outside of work for my dad, similar to your parents, there's apart from football when I was younger, there's been nothing. And my mum, she that she knows this and she'll admit it. She has no self discipline ever. She can't get anywhere even on time. Like,
Can't wait for
so
the algorithm to watch this, by the way.
I've definitely not picked that up or at that age from them. That didn't come from my environment at that age. That came from me. But I think that was because I loved what I was. I wanted to be a ballet dancer and I loved that so much. And I think now, this time around, yes, it has probably come from my environment, i.e., you and other people I'm around, because I know for a fact had I stayed at home and before I met you, because of the people I was around at home, like my mum and my brother, God love them to pieces, they don't have a drive that same way. And it did, you start to become them people. You start to, well, I do anyway, but I think I'm more impressionable than you. You could hold your own and still do what you want to do, regardless of who's around you and who you're spending your time with. I think I'm very easily influenced and very impressionable. I will kind of, not morph, that sounds awful, but I will kind of morph into the people I'm around because we've said this in a previous podcast that I can be a bit of a people pleaser as well. Like, and I don't do it intentionally, but that does happen.
Okay. Right. So, well, I think we've answered that for the things I was going to go through in that, aren't we?
I know.
Jesus. So, yeah, so it comes from obviously many different angles, discipline, which we're going to dive into. Obviously, that's kind of our backgrounds. Kind of touched on a few bits, like say, environment is a big part of discipline. So, which angle do you want to go through first?
Well, I was going to say, going off the back of that, really, then, is it, we've kind of touched on it, but is it a skill or is it in our DNA? Is it in our environment? Like, I've got a couple of points on this one, really, but we've
Go for it.
kind of, well, going off what we've just touched on and like my ballet background, all of that, I think that sometimes disciplined people tend to be perfectionists. I know I am that person. Tend to be perfectionists, high achievers, and it's not always through discipline that we get shit done. And I speak for myself in my younger days. It definitely came from trying to be perfect. Even at school, alongside my dancing, I had to achieve all my grades in order to be allowed to go to dance school on the side and outside of school. So I had to get all A's and A stars, even though I wasn't in school half the time. And I wasn't allowed to go to dance school if I didn't. And my dad is so academic. He used to test me all the time. Like on that's what we used to do on the way back from Leeds in the car. Spelling tests, math tests, whilst he was driving. And I had a lot of pressure. And I think I've struggled with anxiety since then. I think a lot of mine at that time, it wasn't about being disciplined, it was about trying to be perfect.
Okay.
But I don't believe that that's the case for everybody at all. And I don't feel that way now.
So the question is then, is it skill or in your DNA? You've not answered it.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily either. I think sometimes it
You just
can,
you just explained your story.
yeah, because I think for me it became a coping mechanism at that point in time. Now I don't feel like it is. Now I feel like it is more of a skill.
Yeah, it is a skill. You could argue people not born with it. I don't think that's the right word. I think sometimes discipline's built sometimes without even knowing. I'd say like the drive, like again, don't want to keep going back to, but with the background that I had, I think that naturally made me disciplined from seeing a lot of things and hearing a lot of things. When I look back at it now, I'm like, yeah, I've never had to build discipline. I was like, okay, that's where it naturally came from. And then bodybuilding, and then running a business, as you know, you've got to incorporate that. Otherwise, you're just simply not going to get anywhere,
And I
really.
think discipline can show up in so many other forms as well, because I do think, and you can teach yourself it. Like, I think I've become more disciplined, obviously, through doing a bodybuilding prep, and that goes without saying. But even like when it comes to time management and setting boundaries, like, I think even saying no to people more when your natural instinct is to say yes, but to have that moment of actually no and saying it and sticking to it, that is also a form of discipline. I don't think it always has to be practical stuff. I think every time you almost, not necessarily yes and no, but this is just a really easy example. Every time you almost say, you say no to something when you really want to say yes, or the other way around, that is enforcing self discipline because you're going against what you want to do at that present moment and choosing something that you know is going to be better for you in the long run. Like every time you do that, you are teaching yourself the skill to do that,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. Okay, then, having said all of that, then, if it is a skill and you can just learn it, why do so many people struggle with it?
God. Why do people struggle with that? Because I don't think it necessarily comes down just to just discipline. I think, like we said earlier, certain purposes in life, like if I wasn't doing what I was doing, would I be as disciplined? I don't think so. I don't think I would. I think if I was still playing football, I don't think I would be as disciplined as what I am now. What about you?
I think people probably struggle with it for the same or the opposite reasons as like I say, I had it due to trying to be perfect because that was the narrative I gave myself. I think some people give themselves the narrative of they're always that person that falls short. They're always that person that doesn't stick to what they've said they're going to do. They're always that person that always quits or never quite achieves their goal. They also give themselves that narrative. And then I feel like if you tell yourself enough of anything, that is what will be your truth. So I suppose like self-sabotage, low self-belief, whatever. I feel like it's not always that they're struggling to be disciplined. It's because they're identifying as the person that isn't, the person that doesn't fulfill anything, that doesn't finish anything they start. So I think it comes a lot from their identity rather than,
Which is what I was saying with purpose and the why and the meaning.
well, yeah, I suppose you can't. I think people have a massive misconception of discipline as well. How many people look at us and they're just like, "Oh, it's all right for you because you're so disciplined," because they see what we do as disciplined things to do, right? They see going to the gym as a disciplined thing. They see eating well as a disciplined thing, and I think the massive issue with that is that they see it as an action rather than a way of being. I think you can't teach someone to do the disciplined things. You have to teach someone to be a disciplined person.
Yeah, it goes back to the saying. No, it goes back to values.
Yeah.
People don't want to miss out on events, certain things, because the fear of missing out, and they'd rather do that. And then they're the type of people that will moan that they haven't got X, Y, and Z results or progress further where they want to be because But they then, like say, because they've said yes so much, they don't see that that's the barrier.
Yeah. And like I say, they see things as separate nuggets of things instead of just like a whole way of this is like what we talked about in the seminar, like, and it's the whole thing with balance, it's the whole thing with seeing the bigger picture. I think they see being disciplined means they have to give up their freedom. And they
Yeah,
see it as two very separate things.
yeah.
Or
Which we mentioned, like say, you did. Yeah, it was during your prep, and we went to where did we go that year?
it's during that year we did Dubai, I did Malaga, we did Sweden.
Yeah, and then we had a couple of concerts and things like that.
Yeah, we had Chris Brown, we had that comedian, two comedians we went to see.
Yeah, we had birthdays. Like say, big example, your 30th birthday,
Yeah,
right? You was going through prep. Cool.
yeah.
We couldn't do
And I've
anything.
just found out I'm going to be in prep for my next birthday too.
Yeah, great. Deal with it. But like I say, missed your 30th birthday. Most people would not want to miss a birthday. Oh no, it's my 30th birthday. I've got to celebrate it. Like it's the end all or be all.
Yeah, but
So it comes
like
back to values, doesn't it?
yeah, but like I said in the seminar, it's regardless of that, that year is the most I have ever lived.
Saying you
It's
can
the
do
most
both.
freedom I have ever felt because I've gone on the most holidays, we've done the most other things, and it was actually only a proportion of that year that I had to be like so disciplined because I had a reason and I had something that I was working towards. But that meant the rest of the year I had complete freedom and I could be fully present because I'd done what I wanted and needed to do. And I'd done it to the best of my abilities, and I was so happy and proud of that and pleased with that. That when we went to Dubai, that was the first time in ages we both spent it off our phones, didn't do any work, didn't have an argument, which you pointed out. Like that was one of our best holidays to date, I think, and it's because we'd had such a year where we've been so laser focused on certain things that when we had our free time, we were really in that instead of half-assed being somewhere else.
Yeah, well, like I say, there you go. In a nutshell, structure and discipline creates freedom, but people want the
But
freedom before doing the discipline.
that leads me on to kind of the next bit where I think people struggle as well is the whole like I suppose we just live in this world at the minute of instant gratification with everything. I don't think people necessarily have a lack of discipline. It's just they're addicted to the quick fixes and the easy route and the because everything's at our fingertips
Yeah.
and they're so it's they do get a dopamine like hit from like doing do you know what, from the wrong things. Like they're not then yeah, but you know what I mean, like that
How sweet you say it.
it's a temporary fix is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
and it's too easy and too accessible. Like I know from coaching women, I'm not calling any of my ex-clients out here, but I know from coaching women that they don't want to, even though they're really unhappy with their bodies, even though they cry about it, even though they feel shit in themselves, the minute they go through a little bit of financial hardship, their coaching is the first thing they think is of going to go. Or I can even if it's not going, but I'm talking to them like, oh, I feel really bad, I've booked in to get my lips and my hair done because that'll make me feel better.
Yeah. Just to then
All
put
the
you on
time.
Instagram to get boys' attentions more than
Yeah, all the time.
focus on yourself.
Like the main thing you dislike about yourself or something that's really getting you down, it's going to take time, it's going to take hard work, and that's the first thing they'll get rid of. The things that they can go into a salon and be out looking different in the space of an hour, that makes them feel better for what? Another 72 hours after that?
But like I
And
say,
then
going back,
they feel shit about themselves again.
yeah, like going back to us, like say they look at us like it's easy, but what they've not seen is the 7, 8 years that we've put into it, and they wonder why we can say no to things easy. We don't go worrying about skincare and all the
Well,
little things that cost a lot of money because we invest like now if we was completely honest here, the amount we invest into
yeah.
coaching, business,
One of
growing
my
as a person, they would be shocked that we spent that money going, why the hell have you spent all that? Yet when it comes to themselves, they don't see it as a value.
One of my other clients said to me the other day that she said that she can tell I'm just so confident. I said, why? And she went, because you don't get anything done. And I went, what do you mean? And she was like, because you've said like you don't get your hair done. And I haven't. I've not had my hair done in about 7 years. She's like, you don't get your hair done. She's like, you don't get your lashes done. You don't get your eyebrows done. You don't go for facials. She's like, it takes a very confident person in this day and age not to think they need that doing. And I'm like,
I'll
it's
tell
not.
you why, because you don't need validation.
Yeah, but it's also not confidence. It's not external confidence. Yes, I am confident in myself now. I haven't always been, but I'm confident in myself because of what work I've put in and what I've achieved, not because of this. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I also can't justify, I am always been that person, I'll say it out right now, like we've just said, I cannot justify spending that amount of money on materialistic things and superficial things when it could be invested into something that's actually going to fulfill me from the inside out. Again, as cliche as that sounds, but £200 a month for a coach, sure. £200 a month for my bloody hair? Nah, I'm all right, thanks.
Yeah, but a
Fixes
lot.
nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, or
No, I think moving on to the kind of last question then.
which
How we kind
is
of, well, how clients can, if they are struggling with what they think is, lack of discipline, or like, how do we help them? It is our job.
yeah. I think personally it comes from alignment is the biggest thing that I'd put it under. I think so many people want certain things, but kind of realize what it takes to get there. Like, yeah, I'll do it, but don't actually do it.
Mm.
So I think that needs to align, and then you need to build on that. I've got perfect clients of one client, for example, like say when she's been with me for 4 years, she struggled with suicidal thoughts and all of that, right? If then I went and said, going, right, you need to do all of this, it's too much, isn't it? I think the better,
Overwhelmed.
she's built it up, she's gone, right, okay, I'm going to focus on just being confident in the gym. I'm going to then be confident when I just out and about, or that has a big impact on it, right? Then she built up and built up, and it's what's that next level? And it's always aligning. She's never gone, I want to be a bodybuilder, but I've not wanted to be here on this planet a week ago. It's going, right, I just want to feel better within myself.
I think the key is what you said there, like it is building it. I think it's the accumulation of smaller actions that over time will
But
build
then, but then
discipline
what
and
we've
stuff.
just said a minute ago, people look at Instagram and they go on that, and the validation's there, and it's quick fixes, and they don't want to do that. And then they wonder why they never self improve. As where the person that I'm on about, 4 years, massive self improvement because it's not one big jump, it's slow, small, steady improvements. And that's what we've done over 7 years, 8 years.
So, kind of going off that then a little bit, and I know this is probably a bit of
And
a
by the way, just put out there, we're not perfect, by the way. Like, we still have our own downfalls. Like, we are still growing. That what we're trying to say is we are invested in ourselves behind the scenes
yeah. Um,
massively.
Going off kind of what you just said, because I think it'll be helpful for people listening and people listening who do think they're struggling to build kind of discipline. Going off kind of what you've just mentioned, you've done with that client there, and you've slowly built it up over time. What do you kind of suggest as a starting point? Like how, we use tools through with clients as like non-negotiables. I know you've got your floor and ceiling thing. Is that you? Am I making it? Yeah. Like, how would you, for someone who was literally listening to this and been like, right, it's motivated me, it's inspired me, I want to start building this discipline tomorrow. Like, what would you say is like the first place they need to kind of start or like set some little non-negotiables or whatever?
Same as what we do in our seminars twice a year, every year. What are your goals? Why? They're the two biggest ones. Anyone can have goals, but the reason most people don't get to them is because they don't have a meaning to themselves. Well,
I'm going to stop you there a little bit though.
go on.
If I was that person listening to this and
Mm.
I just wanted a really easy answer to that, and you've said I have to kind of delve into my goals and my why, that already could be a little bit overwhelming. I
Yeah,
find
but
that.
okay, I'm going to go back off that. We're probably speaking to two different type of people.
Yeah, I know, but there'll be different types of people listening to this. That's why I'm kind
Yeah,
of
that's what I'm
curious.
saying. So that'll be my answer. What would your answer be then?
Yes, they need to establish, no, yeah, they need to establish a goal, but dependent on how deep they want to go into that, I wouldn't say is necessarily relevant at the start. Initially, they don't maybe need to establish their why straight away. They don't maybe need to look deeper than the superficial goal. I think if it's a case of them going to bed tonight and they want to wake up and do one small thing tomorrow that's going to set them off on a good foot and go in the right direction, then I think as long as they are clear on their surface level goal initially, that is enough to get the pin moving. The pin moving? The ball moving? Whatever. Um, and then obviously they are going to hit a hurdle where they feel a bit low on motivation or they feel like they're not 100% clear in the direction they're going. And that's when I'd say, yeah, we need to dig into this goal a little bit more so that you can develop your understanding and your reasoning as to why. But I think initially, like how many times do clients start with us and initially their goal is as deep, like, oh, I just want to lose a bit of weight and turn up. Or I just want to lose a bit of body fat. And it's not until we prod and poke and we get a bit deeper that they even think like that.
No, of course, not a lot of people can. But like I say, we're probably coming from different people in terms of completely sure you're speaking to probably a lot more beginners as well. I'm not. So obviously for me, yeah, if a client is coming in, they've got some baseline level of certain things. So we're diving into the root of it and the deeper level of it as well. Like say, yeah, if we're talking very beginners, like say, yeah, just what it's literally simply one step at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself.
Okay, I have a question then. Let me flip that on the head. If you have a client that is not doing what they're supposed to be doing because of lack of discipline, and they even openly say, I'm just not disciplined, I just can't do it. I just can't make myself, when it comes to not checking in on time, when it comes to not doing the do, what do you kind of say to them as that, like, or how would you lead the conversation with them to like that wake up call? Like, look, if you're not actually willing to pull your finger out, you're not going to get much further.
I think it's the simple question of talking, discussing to them, going, okay, cool, you're not disciplined. Going back to that, what is it that you want? Is this for you? What do you want to achieve? Because there'll be some reason of why they don't and do want to do it. So it's not
That
an instant.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like that thing that what I found online that it's like holding a mirror to that client and showing them that their lack of discipline in the present, so in like the situation they are now, is a lack of respect for where they want to be in the future. So I think if they're sat there telling you they want to achieve these things and they're quite big things, but then the person they are right now is not sat doing the things they need to do to achieve them, then it's actually just, it's not a lack of discipline as such. It's
It's a
a
lack
lack
of ownership and accountability.
Yeah, and it's a
Self.
lack of what's it called? Well, it's managing their expectations as well, isn't it? Like we've discussed before, like they're expecting to achieve a high level result, but they're not doing the actions that align with that. So like they're either not respecting the goals they've set for themselves or where they want to be in the future, or I don't know. But it's not. I think they disguise it and convince themselves they're just not disciplined enough. But it goes a lot deeper than that.
Or I'm going to quite go off that a little bit. I think some people think it's because it's going to be easier than what it actually takes.
Yeah.
Realization of when it does get a little bit hard. Oh, maybe this isn't what I want to do. Because again, they see people do it on socials and it looks straightforward, but they don't see the effort, the hard work, and discipline that they goes with it.
Okay, controversial question then, since we need to start wrapping this up soon, I suppose. If you could pick one, either a client who had like 10 out of 10 potential, but they had like 1 or 2 out of 10 discipline. So that's client one. Client two, they have like 3 out of 10 potential. Not great. But they have 10 out of 10 discipline and work ethic. Who would you rather work with?
What are we basing this off? Because automatically, I think bodybuilding. Are we going just lifestyle clients?
I suppose, yes, potentially into bodybuilding, but I suppose even just from a like
Just an all
client
rounder.
working relationship and like physique development. Like, yes, the clients.
Okay, then. So basically, people want to strive to obviously look better, feel better, confident, and yeah. All right. Um, Most people naturally, I guess, would say the talent and the potential, which cool. I disagree. I'd rather have someone who's got effort, work ethic, discipline. There we go. Discipline again. Attitude. Attitude is a big one. Like you could have the worst talent, potential, genetics, whatever you want to fucking call it, right? But when someone's got a good attitude, I fucking love it and I fucking
And
strive
when
off
they
it.
wanna learn, like when they wanna learn, they
They
want
want
to.
to learn, they want to gain. How can they improve? How can they get better? You know, the challenges, they rise to them head on. They don't fucking hide away. People with the talent, they think they're fucking better than people, so they think, oh, I'll be fine if this happens or that happens. I've got the potential and genetics, so I don't need to worry about anything.
I'm
Um,
intrigued now. If we'd have said bodybuilders when we first asked that question, would it be a different answer?
no. I mean, most people probably think yes, because, like, well,
That's what I was
if
getting
they've got
at.
the genetics and going to win the shows, yeah, I get it from that point of view. But I know my values. You know me as a person. What I respect. I respect work ethic, attitude, and all of those that go into those categories as well. Like respect is a big thing for me. When people have attitude and they don't respect people because they think they're better and they don't need to do certain things and so forth and so forth. No, I don't sit with me well at all. It's like, you know what I mean? Like you've won everything. Obviously, I know you put the work in, you've got the right attitude. But I am the same without all of that. So it's a big respect thing. And it's the same for you, I'm assuming.
Yeah, 100%. Well, just from a client and coach relationship, like you'd always rather have a client that's willing to put in the effort and to learn, even if
Yeah,
they.
and genetics, like you say, right? This is the truth that people need to understand as well. I think people could work fucking hard, have the correct attitude, and you will have someone who has fucking very good genetics and very good potential, and they don't put half as hard work into it or have the best attitude, and they probably still might do better. Unfortunately, that is the world in a lot of things, right? So again, it goes back to the values of going, why are you doing it for yourself? Because I know so many people that got better potential than me, got better genetics than me, and so much more talent than me. But I can put my hand on heart and be like, but I know they don't outwork me, and that's just something I take pride in with myself.
Yeah. Do
So
you think that I'm kind of going off script here? But as the last question, kind of bringing it round full circle a little bit, because obviously we spoke about our parents and we spoke about our backgrounds, and we've had this conversation, which is why I'm bringing it up. But some people are very disciplined when it comes to their work and their careers.
yeah.
Then when it comes to the gym, the health, the fitness, looking after themselves, they're not.
Mm.
And why do we think that is?
Um, I guess it's different person to person. I guess if we're going off what we see and what we know from working with people, I think it's because they don't see something as a reward at the end of it.
Hmm.
They go to work, they go to the jobs. No matter what they do, week in week out, they're getting paid each month. They're getting paid a salary at the end of the year. When it comes to results and what they're trying to achieve, they kind of fall back on the effort that they put in when as soon as they hit a little hurdle, and then they don't think, oh, I'm not going to get them results. Actually, maybe it's not for me.
And I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because it is, again, values and what people determine as well in their life as like successful and what they value. Because we shouldn't um put so much value on money and material things. But in this day and age, I can kind of see why someone would put so much emphasis on going to their job, doing better in their job, getting a promotion, getting more money, getting that career, because we do unfortunately live in a world where you can't have a decent quality of life without earning a certain amount of money. And I do think they see that as more important because, like we've said, like, yes, our physiques and our bodies are important and they are to us because of what we do and they are to certain people. But as long as they are just fit and healthy and then earning more money, that probably weighs out in their mind as enough. Do you know, like we can always say, like money's not as important as like your health, and it's not. But your health is in when it comes to, like not being in shape or maybe being obese, suffering with heart conditions, doing this, and yes, your health is more important. But if it's just being like generally in shape, physically fit, you can get around day to day, you've got no ailments, nothing wrong with you, then of course you're probably going to think your money and your career's up
Yeah,
there.
and you do get other people that go the other way. By the way,
Oh
that's a
yeah,
fact, right. You
no,
get
I
people
know.
that I've heard stories that people will be absolutely broken skinned just to do bodybuilding shows.
But that's what I mean. Like that's from a bodybuilding perspective.
Yeah, but
That
that's
is
the only
very
example
much
I
true.
had.
Yes, I know. I'm just saying, like, that's because they're doing it because they're passionate about it as a sport and as a way of life rather than just a gym goer who wants to stay in decent shape. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're not going to value it as much.
well, yeah, because we're speaking to again different people. Yeah, so that's the answer to that one.
I think we're going to have to wrap it up soon because I'm fading away in here.
Dark. No,
Getting
it makes me
dark.
making me look really bright.
And, like, can we just not talk about how shiny I am?
Right, I guess we'll wrap it up there then, before we drag it out even more. Any final few words?
No, I don't think so.
Sound right? Enjoy that one, people. Get your shit done. Fucking train. Work hard. Be disciplined, and the results will show. Trust me.
Bye.
Adios.